Welcome to the Across the Pond Sports Network's WNBA podcast, Across the Pond Liberty. I'm Stacia.
And I'm Kirstin.
All right, so we had a great week. We had a 3-0 week, and we each, I think, predicted. You said 1-1-1 or 2-1 if Sabrina was back. I said 2-1 because I thought the Sun were going to win the last game, but 3-0 week. I also think we predicted them to have a loss just to unjinx them the way we did before.
Mhm.
But a 3-0 week, starting with a victory over the Dream by 30 points, 110-80. It was a
Mhm.
massacre.
Oh, they absolutely killed them. It was just such a fun game to watch. Even coming into like the second half, there was a lead, right? But it wasn't a 30-point lead. So for like Liberty to go, I believe it was 59 that they had at the half to 110, like it was just such an entertaining game to watch, and it was great to see them come back and kill them because, as we know, they've played them already this season. They did have one game where they didn't play too well, but yeah, great to see them absolutely kill the Dream.
It
They
was
shattered their dream.
they shattered the dream. I kind of wrote notes like the Liberty love to play in Atlanta because they've had such like high scoring games in Atlanta. And I was like, oh, okay. Not so much at home against Atlanta, but the two in Atlanta have just been massacres.
Yeah.
The Dream have to just be like, anytime we play the Liberty, we'll play them in Brooklyn. Like that sounds great.
Mm.
So that was one of those that I was like, oh, okay, cool. Yep, you like Atlanta. But I would say I made predictions and believe the prediction was that the Liberty were gonna out offensive rebound the Dream, but they actually lost by 1. It was 8 for the Dream, 7 for the Liberty, but oh well. But my unsung play of the game, brought to you by my friend whose name is MJ, not to be confused with Marine, is John Quell had 3 3 or 4 buckets that led to and ones. And so we talked about how we were disappointed with John Quell. But 3 or 4 times she made a shot and was fouled and finished at the free throw line for the traditional 3-point play. And so that is just one of those. Besides the double double, just the fact that she wanted the ball and was aggressive made me so happy with John Quell. So I'm like, it's on the up, like we hoped.
Oh yeah, it was so great to see her because yeah, we spoke quite a bit about it last week. But she did come out, I think, like right off the bat as well. She was the
Yes.
person that made that first impact. I think she scored like a significant amount of the points in the first quarter, and she
And
just dominated. Like it was so good to see her play like that. She also made 2 3-pointers, not to mention, like this is what I love about the game now. We were also speaking before we recorded about how much the game has changed, but for John Quell to be like playing center right now, to be as big as she is, she's the kind of key player when it comes to just those like block shots just right in the paint. But she can shoot threes as well. She got quite a few good looks across the week. And yeah, she got 18 points in that game, 2 3-pointers. She played really well, and I was just so glad to see her being put to great use.
yeah, and she had 9 points, or 9 points, 9 rebounds, but it was like she made 3-point plays and then she made 3-pointers. And it was like, "Oh, okay, just that's the theme. Is just John
Mhm.
Quell just doing threes. In some form or another, she was gonna get 3 points on a single play." And that made me just so happy. And also, one of my favorite stats about that, they scored 110 points, but
Mhm.
19 for Betnijah, leading scorer. Again, just and it's just when Betnijah's been the leading scorer, it just seems like, "Oh, yeah, of course, yeah."
Yeah.
Stewie has 13, John Quell has 18, Sloot has 16, Sabrina has 8. Sabrina didn't need to score this time, so she just had 8 instead of 8 3-pointers. And then Kayla Thornton comes in, 10 points, and then Marine has, this MJ has 18, 6 players 6 starters, that would be impossible. 6 players in double figures, and then Sabrina was literally 2 points away from it,
Mhm.
I and no one had 20 points. That's
Mhm.
what makes it even better. No one has 20 points and 29 assists.
It was just exactly what I feel like people were expecting when they saw all the players that had been signed to the team, all the people that were staying on. This is the kind of stat line that was envisioned. It's great because you get these teams where yeah, there are these elite scorers and these people who are consistently like scoring 20 points a game. And sure we have that on our team, but we also have like all these other players. For example, Betnijah, she's a consistent player, but sometimes she gets very overshadowed by the fact that there is like Brianna Shure, Sabrina, John Quell, Courtney all playing alongside her, but she still comes out and she's like, "No, I know my place on this team," and she showed out. She was by far for this week. I think I was most impressed by her because I feel to some extent you expect these huge numbers from like again like Brianna Shure, all our big core, and then but Nigel, she is such an amazing player, but she just gets overshadowed by these huge, huge names. This week, I'm just like she came back to be like, I'm still here. This is
Oh,
still
yeah.
my team,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was so impressed, and I love the way she plays.
It's just it's very tenacious,
Mhm,
and when you're a player, and this is gonna come up when they play the Aces this week, you have someone like Betnijah that's been a scorer in her life and then has to go and be defensive, and then I believe she said in one of their all accesses, or not, I think in quotes, I don't know if this is an all access or a broadcaster had said this, is when she's open, she knows that I need to make my shots. And I feel like the corner threes are just her domain
mhm.
because everybody's going to be on different parts of the, and she's just hanging out in the corner and she's going to make her threes. And she's been shooting so well doing that. And then she's just going to be such a tough person when she is guarding the other team's best player. And that feels like what Alicia Clark for Vegas, who turned that way into the Storm on their championship teams, she was very close to being a 3,000 point scorer in college and is top 25 in NCAA Division One all time scoring. And she became a defender in the W to always have a spot. And so when you have that shift, it's like if you're growing up playing world football, we call it soccer in America, and everybody wants to score, and then at some point, "Oh, we have really good scorers, you're gonna have to turn into a defender." That's what I feel is the same shift for some of these players, but when they need to score, they're gonna score, and that's what Betnijah did against Atlanta, her former team, which is another thing where I'm like, "Oh, she's played here. She's oh, okay, cool. I got
Mhm.
this. I know this area. I'm good." Again, the libs love Atlanta.
And you can see as well from the way that Atlanta play, like they are a very hustle, very driven team. They don't even when they are getting blown out by 30 points, like at no point are their heads going down. They're still playing like the game's tied. And I really see that in Betnijah as well. I think our whole team is great. The Liberty are all great. Everyone, particularly on our starting five, are particularly skilled at like, for example, Brianna Stewart has her specific forte where she's just so tall, like she will just shoot over you. You can be right in her face. And then it comes to Betnijah Delaney. She her forte is her hustle. She's just no matter what, she is always running. She does not stop. She just you see it in her face, you see it in her eyes when the camera pans on her and I'm out to get you. I'm gonna steal this ball. I'm gonna out defend you. Like she is just a hustle player. She is the hustle player. I just it was great to watch her. And Kayla Thornton as well. Coming out, she also scored 10 points. Like I feel like they play quite similarly. They come on and they're not these I know but Nigel's still starting five, but they come on and they're not these like huge names that have just signed to the team. But they perform and they perform consistently well, just, like, such great hustle and such great defense.
Yeah. Those 2 are just gonna be if this team turns into a championship winning team, it's gonna come down to them, and I'm gonna get to that later.
Mhm,
Future pen put a pin in that for what we're
mhm.
gonna talk about later in the podcast, but despite all of the good things that happened in Atlanta, Dolson is
Oof.
now out,
Yeah.
and I know that her and, Niara have been splitting time coming in, and playing in, the backup center position, but Steph's experience and Steph's passing ability, especially from the top of the key to players down low, is gonna hurt, and she's gonna be out for a couple weeks. And I know she hasn't had as much, time as she's had before, but Steph comes in and will rebound and intelligence and set all the screens very well, and I know Niara's had that with her experience at Oregon. They're a very pick and roll style team, but you can't put, a price on Steph's 9 years, I believe, in the league now. So, I think that's gonna come out and hurt a little bit. The only thing that makes me happy about Steph's injury timeline is she'll have that extra week with the All-Star break to come back. So, that's it, and I know she doesn't have to have surgery, but, shout out to Big Mama Steph because, I mean, you know how much I love you, and I want you to
Mm.
get back very quickly.
Yes, get well soon, Steph Dolson.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was gutting to see her go down. But, like, seeing her on the sideline in those other games, though, her spirits were high. Her spirits were high, so there's
Did
hope.
Did you see the clip of her getting down and doing, like, not the worm, but, like, a low twerk worm
No.
to pump up her team before the Mystics game?
No.
It is something you need to see. It's like she got on the floor and I think maybe did, like, a twerk near the ground. I kind of saw, like, a little brief of it, and then she put on her Instagram account 'cause they all had shocked faces. She's like, "This is why I do this," and it's her team laughing and just doing that. She is a consummate teammate, and I say one of the funniest players in the league. Her and Sid Colson. Here's what the WNBA needs to do. Steph Dolson, Sid Colson, Dolson Colson. It's already set up perfectly. DC, Dolson Colson need to be commentators for All-Star game events because
Mhm.
those 2 are wild, and then you throw in Natasha Cloud in there if she's not an All-Star because Natasha Cloud, like, pulled Sid Colson's pants down, like, as a joke in, like, Athletes Unlimited. It's a great she had, like, long, the pants spandex on, so it's not like,
Mhm.
anything there, but that's the kind of fun that needs to be had more in the
Yeah.
WNBA, but yeah, Dolson Colson, spectacular. I called it here first. Those 2 need to get a show. I mean, come on this show, Dolson Colson. I mean, especially because we got the Libs and Aces tonight. But
Mhm.
moving on, uh, one of my favorite things is the fact that, hey, WNBA is getting more games on ABC in the afternoon, so the Liberty pull out an overtime victory against the Mystics 89-88 on ABC Saturday, sorry, Sunday afternoon, and it was excellent. It didn't start off excellently, getting down 13 to nothing, being down 17 points in the first quarter, but Liberty pulled it off and got revenge on the Mystics. And I'm just gonna say this, as much as I love the Liberty, I just feel the Mystics kinda blew this one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they
Yeah,
absolutely blew it. I mean, they they had such an amazing start, and one thing in particular that we do need to credit the Mystics for is Jonquel Jones did not score a single point. She
yeah,
They absolutely locked her down. They absolutely locked the Liberty down. Like, that whole there were swings. I think the way it ended up being is that the Liberty actually won every quarter except the first quarter, but because the Mystics were so far ahead in that first quarter, they just never balanced out until the fourth. But there were so many swings in the game where New York just could not attack the basket. They could not get the ball past this line of the Mystics defense. It was incredible. It was like really, really amazing defense to have put such a star-studded team to not know how to attack that kind of play. Creds to them, honestly, creds to them. But they absolutely blew it.
yeah.
They blew
And
it.
this is where, Pam Ward and Rebecca Lobo broadcasted this game, and they talked about how sound the Mystics are defensively. Very true. But scoring-wise, they need a little bit more to
Mhm.
be up there in that caliber to put them really on the championship level. I think that they're
Mhm,
still in talks to possibly be a championship team. They need more points though, because defensively
mhm,
they're there. Always, like, they're there, but they need just that little extra oomph
mhm,
to get them up there, and that's kind of, like, what happened, and there was a switch because Stewie didn't have a field goal in the first half, and then it took Deladon a really long time in the second half to get a field goal on her end, so it was a Stewie-Deladon switch, and how they performed in each half, and, it was just a very good game to watch the Liberty just keep clawing their way back in it for how they didn't play very well,
mhm,
and then just to hang in there at the end because there were so many opportunities that the Mystics could have done to shut it down, and Shakira Austin going down and getting hurt didn't help them either.
mhm,
So, uh, haven't even checked to see if Shakira's injured or not, but having her in the paint was, huge against Jonquel because she's a fighter, 2nd year in the league, doing really well, but the Liberty hanging in there and pushing at the end, you could just see
mhm,
the belief that they had and how they hit big shots. Sabrina, Sloot, Stewie had a three-point play, and that just kind of ended it where the Mystics were just kind of, like, hanging on, and that whole
mhm.
playing not to lose aspect,
Yeah.
went on with them, and the Liberty just kept fighting for the win, and
Mhm.
that's the what got got 'em the win, I think.
That that was a game of great not only perseverance, but also demonstrated how experienced this team is. In particular, there was that play from Kayla Thornton. Now Kayla only got 5 points in that game. She defended well, but offensively didn't make much noise, but coming into that 4th, I can't remember if it was to take the lead. I think it might have been to take the lead, and she just, like, flopped, uh, an off-ball foul, and because the Mystics were on they were over their team foul score, so Kayla Thornton got to score free throws, and it was just such a tactical move that she saw that opportunity, she took it, she made both free throws, I believe,
Yes.
which completely contributed. I mean, had it not been for a play like that, they might not have won. And then we had Sloot in that last I think it was the final basket she scored, and she just completely read exactly what her defender was gonna do, and she was like, "Right, I'm just gonna throw my momentum this way and score this layup." And it was just like the Mystics just did not know what to do, and I just think those were yes, it was a great game, and yes, we had, like, Brianna Stewart with her shot as well, which was a really big one, but I think Sloot and Thornton really impressed me with just the way that they kinda thought outside the box, and they knew just what needed to be done to their advantage in that moment.
Yeah. Well, I my unsung play of the game for the Mystics is Kayla Thornton, before those free throws,
Mhm,
before that, Della Dawn had an opening to go to the basket, and she reached from behind and got her on a jump ball, and then won the jump ball over Deladon and got the ball to Sloot, and then immediately after got that to got that call
mhm,
and put her on the free throw line. And when
mhm,
she was in, they took the lead back, and then she came
mhm,
out, and then the Mystics got it back, and then Sloot had her tie
mhm,
after the free throws. So unsung play of the game is Kayla Thornton in about like a
mhm,
10-second span because of stopping Deladon and then winning the jump ball. Like, you're shorter, and I know Deladon's long, and I always have a joke that tall girls don't know how to jump because I'm a short girl, and I learned how to jump because I got to get up there to hang out with them. It's like they're already up there; they don't have to jump higher, and that's kind of what happened on Thornton's jump ball with Deladon. She's down 5-6 inches, and she's out
mhm,
jumped her. Uh, so that was my unsung play of the game for the players. The real unsung play of the game is Tiana Hawkins had missed a free throw during the whole season, and Pam Ward said it on air. She missed 2, and then when Cloud went up, she hadn't missed any in the game, and I believe Lobo said to Pam Ward, "You gonna say it?"
mhm.
And they're like, "Natasha Cloud hasn't missed any free throws this game," and missed her first and then made the second, which would have put them up 3, and so, broadcasters jinx, they missed 3 out of 4 of their last free throws, which gave the Liberty the opportunity to tie it up to send it to
Mhm.
overtime, and my mom was very upset with, as she said, her Natasha Cloud for missing the free throw. It's like, she only missed 1, doesn't matter, it's the most important one, yeah, to
Mhm.
hit those 2 at the end of the game, but, Despite that, I think Natasha Cloud played well, just missing that free throw stinks, and she did out assist Sloot 11-6, which I
Mhm,
called. I didn't think Sloot would only have 6, only 6 is still great,
mhm.
and then had the layup. But so the unsung play of the game, Kayla Thornton, and then on the side, the broadcaster's jinx. It's a weird one, but it's true. It's true. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
yeah,
it
you got your prediction there though. You got your Natasha Cloud coming out, 11 assists, 23 points as well. She had a great game.
it was
And
so good.
she one thing that, and I know we've raved about how much we love Natasha Cloud, right? But
Yeah,
let's give her more credit.
yeah,
The way she just completely, like, maintained her composure throughout that whole game. You saw she was, like, mic'd up for a little bit. You could hear what she was saying to the team. You could hear she was like, "Guys, like, let's have faith in our offense. Like, stop, don't let your head go down." Every time you see her in such a close, nerve-wracking game, she was like maintained her composure, and I think that's very, very impressive and really something that you look for in a leader. It's such a shame. I do feel for her about the free throws. Of course, I'm glad that
yeah,
the Liberty won, but you saw it in her face when the camera panned on her and she was just like, but it wasn't to be. But
yeah.
also, not to mention, we had Ionescu with 31 points on 7 threes. Crazy. This girl, she shoots the lights out. She is crazy.
Well, and then my friend that, I go like, unsung play of the game, courtesy of my friend MJ. She said, and I remember seeing this, is John Quell set a killer screen. John Quell has no
Mhm,
points. Killer screen to get Sabrina, I believe it's at the end of the third quarter, to get momentum going into the fourth quarter to hit one of her threes. And she hit big one at the end of the fourth, big one in overtime. So I love how we don't even mention how good Sabrina was because there's all these other things that are happening. And but yeah, Sabrina killing it. 7 threes is just amazing. But I am gonna go back to Natasha Cloud love because this is another thing I love, and it goes to Natasha Cloud and Sloot and just both teams. These teams are both very veteran based and very classy and very like we're out here to play. Because there was a when Natasha Cloud had him run it back when she said she didn't foul Sloot and was like, "No, no, no, I didn't touch her." And then they didn't call the foul. They took the foul away from Cloud on one of Sloot's layups. And her and Sloot, they panned him and they're talking and just laughing about it because they're veterans that have been around and you can just see the fun and competitiveness, but still how much they respect each other in that moment.
mhm,
And and then there was another time where Betnijah and Shakira kind of got wrapped up, and then Niara put her arms out, and they all fell down, and they gave Betnijah a foul, but those are the instances where if things are getting heated, that could turn into, like, a little bit more of a scuffle, but everybody's
mhm,
professional and kind of, like, doesn't, like, escalate it, and
mm,
that's kind of another reason why I love and respect these teams so much, is they're just out there to play and play hard and win, and they have respect for each other where it's not gonna get it could get chippy, but it's not gonna get unnecessary, you know,
mhm.
fouls or unnecessary slaps for things, and that's why I
Yeah.
love these teams so much.
Yeah, and you could see the love. You could see the love, throughout the game. That's totally true. They were very classy about it, and particularly in it being just such a close game, that's when the tension
Yeah.
is the most high, and it is just nice to see people playing some respectful basketball. But yeah, really great game.
So, 3rd game of the week happened against the Sun in Connecticut, and the last time that they played, the Liberty beat Connecticut pretty handily, coming off that the second half was huge. They outscored them by 22 in the second half. I think it was like 49-27. So this Sun game, oh my gosh, so many things happened.
Mhm.
I kind of like had to catch my breath watching this game. The Liberty had 46 points in the paint. The Sun had 50 points in the paint, and and then the Sun had no points besides in the paint, free throw line, or three-pointers. That is insane to me that there was no mid-range for the Sun. And we talk about how the game has changed. That was the most evident with how the Sun played. And the Liberty only had 2 shots, 4 points that were outside the paint, not free throws, not three-pointers. That is insanity. No mid-range. Okay, new game. This is a new game from when we grew up. Well, I grew up.
Mhm.
We're not the same age. Whew. Yeah, we are not the same age. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
No, like, it's so fun. It's so fun to watch, and especially now we're, like, so closely following the Liberty, who I believe, and now don't quote me on this, but I think I'm right in saying that they're leading the league in three-pointers just now, like, three-point percentage, or, like, most three-pointers,
I
and I believe it.
yeah,
I
I
mean, we
think
have, like
it's right on the edge. I think it is in both, or it was recently and it may have just dropped, but yes, I believe
yeah.
it's still the same. Yeah.
Hmm. I mean, we have, like, players like Ionescu and also Johannes, we have to give her credit where that's due. But then, like, even like we were saying, Stewart and Jones, these huge players who have such, like, strong, consistent three-pointers in their arsenal. It's like it's so different. It's so, so different, and it is really fun to watch. I love it's just so great to see when someone just pulls up from 3 with that confidence and you're just like, "Yep, that's going
There
in."
you go. Yeah. Well, this game as a track mate, oh my gosh, catching my breath. There was at one point where Alyssa Thomas got a rebound, took 2 dribbles, and then threw the ball to Dejanay Carrington, just like quarterback style pass, and had a layup. There was another time where I don't even think the cameraman caught up from a layup back, and it was pretty much like, "Oh, we're gonna outrun you and just get a layup." Full court, just very, very quickly. If we've talked about pace a lot. There was at one point where I'm like, "This pace is slow down." I want them to be like, "We need to have a half court offense, please. Please, please, please." Um, but, so it was one of those back and forths. The Liberty came
Mhm.
out, the Sun took the lead back and then didn't score. They um, got up by a point and then just went cold the last 3 minutes and 37, um, you know, 3 minutes and 37 seconds of the game, and then just could not score, which was lucky for the Liberty because they went on a run, had a 16-point lead, and then just kind of, like, let the Sun get back in, and
Mhm.
these are you're against a good team. You can't let that happen, but it's like the Sun just ran out of gas, which is true. Someone like Alyssa Thomas, who got her 2nd consecutive double-double, she played 40 minutes, or sorry, 2nd consecutive triple-double, and then had her 3rd triple-double in the last 4 games, and she just leads the WNBA in triple doubles all time. And so she was extremely impressive, but at some point, the Sun just kinda ran out of gas and couldn't finish the game, and the Liberty did.
Mm. And that's something that surprises me because going into it, the reason last week I was so kind of unsure on my predictions was because Connecticut, I just picture them as this, like, like, very well-oiled machine, just very strong, like, particularly defensively. I love watching Connecticut play defense. Um, but they just run. They run the court. They play such strong defense, and that's tiring. Like, to be as just hustle driven as Connecticut are, it is tiring. But I associate them with having the ability to continue that and maintain that pace. So it surprises me that it was a kind of pace thing that lost them the game, but it was a good game, and it's cool to see, like, Alyssa Thomas putting up those kind of numbers. And also, like, one thing that really interests me is the fact that Connecticut bench scored 44 points compared to New York Liberty's 12 points off the
Yeah.
bench. That's that's a crazy statistic for your bench to be putting up 44 points. The bench scored more points than the starters on the Connecticut. Like, that's crazy. That's really crazy.
Oh, and with I think that Connecticut's style is gonna change a little bit because Brianna Jones is out for the season with her Achilles injury, which is gonna change how they play because you don't have just the strength of her down low, and which is one reason why I think Jonquel had 14 points and 11 boards, was very active in wanting the ball. because she knew that no one was going to be able to kind of like control her down low because they didn't have the strength to keep up with it. And as strong as Alyssa Thomas is, she's not tall like John Quell. And putting in Olivia Nelson Adota in, and then Ty Harris and Dejanay Carrington, which were all the points. Dejanay paced everything, threes or layups. That's all it was for her. And then Olivia Nelson Adota didn't miss a shot and just got the ball, made a couple free throws, but got a couple and ones and slipped some screens and ran the floor really well. And she's faster than Bree Jones, so that I feel is going to be a shift for them this year because they won't set up anything to have like a true back to post player in Bree Jones. So I think it's going to shift a little bit. But I do know that the broadcasters were talking about how Stephanie White, the coach of the Connecticut Sun, when she's frustrated with the team is when they don't invest in defense. And I feel like that happened like for both teams tonight, where it's like, okay, they take a few minutes where they'd be locked in. And then other times they didn't because they were just not getting back. But this also was just such a fun game to watch because when I had time to catch my breath, it was just a very high scoring game. When you put 170 points up between two teams, it's great. But besides Alyssa Thomas getting her third triple double, Tiffany Hayes became got 4,000 points for her career, and then Stewie became the fastest player ever to get 4,000 points for her career. She's not even 30. I mean, and I looked it up today. I believe she's 43rd all time in the W for scoring, and she's not even 30.
She's just such a beast. I'm so glad that she's on this team and that we're getting to follow her so closely. She's come out, and I made this mistake coming into it thinking that okay, she's signed on to the Liberty, but so's JJ, so's Sloot. They have UNESCO already, they have Laney. I was kind of like, I feel like this might level her out a little bit more, and maybe she won't put up such high numbers. Maybe she won't um be breaking all these records like she has been. But I was so wrong. I was so wrong, and I just love to see it. I love to see that she is still excelling herself, becoming such a significantly better player, breaking all these records, while everyone else on the team is also doing the same thing.
Yeah,
It's nice to see that having signed all these great players hasn't been detrimental to the other players, and it's just awesome. It's awesome to see.
it's so great, and then just everybody's just elevated, and they're starting to get that chemistry, and then the pace picked up. But I'm gonna throw out my unsung play of the game was
Yeah, of course.
82-81, and Betnijah hits a not corner three, but
Oh,
one on the wing to get him up 85-81. And even though we know that the Sun didn't score after that, she hit that, and then about a minute later, Kayla Thornton hits a jumper from the free throw line, one of their two shots that was not in the paint or a three pointer. But Nija again, 3 for 6 from the 3 point line, just again being consistent. And so that was Betnijah. And then my weird prediction last week was that Sloot was going to have a higher total in points, rebounds, and assists. And despite the fact that Alyssa Thomas, AT, had 10 rebounds, 10 assists, and 11 points, it's 31 total, Sloot had 17 points, 6 rebounds, and 9 assists, which gave her 32 as a total. So I said that she plays good against Connecticut, and she did. And she came through. And I also liked because her and Sabrina got a couple offensive rebounds just following their own misses that they end up scoring on. So the Liberty this game, even though it was only 6 offensive rebounds because it was such a track meet, they came a couple of those 3 of them came for the guards from Sloot and Sabrina, and that just made me happy because they read their shots and stuck in there and got offensive rebounds, which I feel like they need to do more instead of just running away thinking I know they're good
hmm.
shooters, but instead of just running away, stick in there and get those bounces and score off of them.
Yeah. Yeah, no. It's great. It's great to watch. And back on but Nigel Laney, she is really particularly this week, she's just really, really impressed me. She's had such consistent numbers. That's 16 points, 15 points, and 19 in the first game.
19.
She's just been so reliable. And like one thing as well that I would like to comment on is Sabrina, she yes, she had her 31-point game, but game 1 she had 8 points, which is okay, and then 6 points. She's not actually performing as consistently as Betnijah is. And I know in terms of like assists and rebounds, she kind of tends to stay around similar marks, but with her points, they very much fluctuate. And it's nice to see that Betnijah is just that consistent player. And I love that corner shot. That corner shot, every time that she gets the ball past there, I'm just like, it's
Yep,
going in.
she
It's going
she gets
in.
it she gets it in the corner, and I'm like, "Yep, that's it." Yeah,
That's it.
it's become like the Betnijah zone,
Yeah.
just the corner threes. It's like,
Mhm.
we're gonna call it like, yeah, it's yeah, instead of just saying, like, we're just gonna say bet. When Betnijah catches it, be like, "Bet, here we go.
But
Bet, yep." Uh, but I
yeah.
also do love that about Sabrina is that she doesn't force a shot if she doesn't have to because she knows
Mhm.
this year she doesn't have to score. So
Yeah.
that is also just one of those things that just Stewie, Sloot, JJ, Betnijah, Betnijah's just being fairly consistent, but it's not like Betnijah's she's creating her shots when she goes
Mhm.
to the rim, but other than that, she's taking what she gets on in those
Yeah.
corner threes. So everybody's finding what works to make the team better, and
Mhm.
that's, I think, my favorite thing with Sabrina and her roller coaster scoring this year,
Mhm.
because, I mean, that's what it is, but, you can't get away from her when, the woman can score 7 threes in a game or 8 threes
Yeah.
and
Oh,
is
yeah.
still putting up 3.5 threes on average in a game.
Mhm. And that's the
Yeah,
thing is, like, she is and has been kind of the face of this franchise for a while, but to know that, like, they'll still win games when she comes in and doesn't even score double points is crazy, and it's not to say that her fluctuating scoring is a bad thing, because it's not. It
yep,
means she has that ability to rely on her team to also be the ones that score. Maybe she's not having a good shooting night. Okay, you can score. Or maybe she's having a better night at facilitating everyone else. She's consistent in terms of assists and facilitating. It's just very impressive to see that with her being such like the player she is, she doesn't have to come out every night and score double figures for them to play well.
yeah. It's gonna be I wonder on how that's gonna if that will change, if it will
Mm,
still be up and down, or if she'll level out more to be consistently,
yeah.
in the teens with scoring. Um, Again, that's another thing to check out for each quarter, we're in the 2nd
Mhm.
quarter of the season to check that out, and I just wanna also shout out again the Dejanay Carrington leading the way for Connecticut with 23 points. She was a lot of fun to watch. I got to see her play in college. I met her mom in a bathroom, and, uh yeah, I
Claim to
had
fame.
it's one of those I had at the time, they were the Oakland Raiders. I had that jacket on, and her mom said that she liked my jacket, and I said I think the same thing happened with Lasia Clarendon when I met them, is they saw my jacket, and I live in Kansas. The Raiders are not liked in Kansas, but, now they're Las Vegas Raiders, I almost said Aces, are everywhere, and so she said that, um, "Oh, my husband played for the Raiders." Like, "Oh, I think you're Dejanay's mom." Yeah, so yeah, and then I
So
believe she
casual.
said that yeah, and just like, "Oh, cool. Oh, yeah," because her dad played in the NFL and her mom was an athlete as well, and I believe she said that her Dejanay's, godfather was a famous Oakland Raider. It's always gonna be an Oakland Raider in my mind. Good old Tim Brown, and loved him, so random conversations that you have with moms in bathrooms. Lucky me.
That's so cool. That's a really cool little claim to fame there.
She was so nice, and we just kept talking about things, and she said something about when Dejanay gets drafted. This is when she was at Baylor, and I was like, "Oh, she's not even a starter," but she liked to come off the bench at Baylor, and she's doing the same thing, and then had her career high. So I have a special place of like love for Dejanay because I met her mom. Yeah, fun times. No, speaking of Vegas, with my Raiders, they're a team that is owned by co-owners of the or not co-owners. Owner of the Raiders is the owner of the Aces, which is who the Liberty play tonight. And Asia Wilson, after their close game against the Fever almost got him again, almost got the Aces again the other night. Asia Wilson joked when they said that the Liberty were coming in on Thursday, and Asia goes, "Well, what do you expect of this game?" And not verbatim, paraphrase, Asia said, "Oh, a lot of drama, it's battle of the super teams," and she said that very sarcastically about the Liberty coming in here. So I think this is gonna be very fun because they all know what's kind of expected of this game of in terms of how the media have billed them this year, but, it's the Aces versus the Liberty tonight on Amazon Prime, so I'm happy it's on Prime,
Mhm.
which, most people can get. It's not, like, hidden even though it's not on a network, it's not on ESPN at 9 o'clock, which is unfortunate because it is the Aces and the Liberty, but what do you think's gonna happen tonight? Aces and Liberty, and it will already be done by the time this podcast comes out, so
Yeah.
we get to find out how right or wrong we are immediately.
I think because it is at the Aces, Aces are gonna take it. I just see it for them, and I think one thing that New York struggled with, particularly against, like, Washington, is Washington have had so much time playing together, and you could see that, okay, yeah, Washington blew the game, but that's what we're saying, they blew the game. It was a complete, like, unfortunate turn of events, essentially. Washington are such have such great team chemistry. They've played together for so long, and they have such a structured play that I see that resembles with the Aces. They've played together for so long, they have the chemistry, and if they can just keep that up for longer than the Mystics can, I think they'll have them. I think they'll have them, and I just creds to the Liberty because their chemistry has been getting a lot better, but there are still a lot of moments where there's a bad pass. There's still very high turnovers, and they really struggled in a lot of that game against Washington just because of how solid and well structured their defense was. So yeah, I see the Aces winning this game. I will be very pleasantly surprised if New York win. I'd love to see New York win, but I just I see it for the Aces.
As much as the Liberty, their 2nd game of the year, killed the Fever, and as close as the Fever have played the Aces this year, the other night against the Fever, the start of the 4th quarter, I believe it was 7 ties, 20 lead changes with the Fever and the Aces, and I love how the Fever play the Aces. It just it's one of my favorite matchups now. Also, Aaliyah versus Asia in the paint is just so much fun.
Mm.
Let's go, Gamecocks. Um, but the Aces took the lead and then had a significant lead, believe they're up by 10. Fever come back. Fever get the lead. But then the last few minutes, the Aces are just like, "Okay, kids." It's the older sister, little sister, and then they just took control and the Fever couldn't do that. Now, the Fever are different than Liberty, but the Aces have the chemistry to keep everything locked in. The only way that I kind of see the Liberty pulling this game off is Stewie plays well against the Aces. Salute plays good against the Aces because last year Chicago, if Chicago doesn't blow it against the Sun, Chicago versus the Aces was, I think, what a lot of people wanted to see. Even though the Sun well deserved that they were in the final, but Chicago had beaten the Aces. I think they were 3-1 or 2-1 against the Aces, and just had them and just had a way with the Aces last year. And I feel like Sloot is good against them, but I I see Chelsea Gray taking over at the end if it is close and just kind of being her finals MVP self to come back on that. And that chemistry is just gonna really do it. I'm very interested to see who Betnijah guards. That's what I wanna see. Is she gonna guard Chelsea? Is she gonna guard Jackie? What who
Mhm,
like, those 2, is she gonna are they gonna put her on Plum if Plum starts shooting well? Like,
mhm,
who is Betnijah gonna guard, and how is that matchup gonna work? Because I
mhm,
feel like that's gonna be big, and then when Alicia Clark comes in off the bench, who does Alicia Clark guard? Because she's become a defensive stopper. Is she gonna be guarding Sabrina if Sabrina's shooting well? Is she gonna be ready to help off of Betnijah, or is she gonna be on Sloot? I'm very interested to see who's gonna match up against each other. Um, I do think the Aces are gonna take it. They're
mhm,
in Vegas, and also the Liberty. This will be their 4th game in 8 days, I believe.
mhm.
in 8 days, and they're 3-0, and they're on a 4-game win streak. They're playing well. Um, so them playing well is good, and I feel like the Aces are struggling a smidge because they look like they struggled a smidge against the Fever. So if the Liberty can take advantage of the gaps when the Aces aren't as fluid as they normally are, that's
Mhm,
how New York wins it. If they clean up the turnovers, and also we've talked about pace. They picked up the pace against Connecticut, but Connecticut
mhm,
was right back against them. Vegas is 3rd in pace right now, and the Liberty are 5th in pace. So that is going to be interesting to see because the Liberty have picked it up. But I
mhm.
still have the Aces winning this, even though my weird prediction is that I feel like the Liberty bench will outscore the Aces bench. So I'm looking at you, Marine, and you, Kayla.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I yeah.
that could be interesting.
I think that that's a very good point to make. I think, yes, in this game we do need, like, for example, Stewie. We need Stewie to be putting up good numbers. We need Ionescu to be putting up good numbers. But I think ultimately what is just as valuable in this game is that we also have like Kayla Thornton strong on her defense, like on her game,
Yes.
being that reliable player, and also for Johannes to be that reliable player as well, because she had a really great game at the start of the week. 5 3 pointers, which we also didn't talk about, but 5
Yeah.
pointers. um, just let that one slide. And then she didn't really make much noise in the other games. So I think it will be important as well to ensure that everyone is performing, because it's not going to come down to the starters to put up the big numbers, to put up the big rebounds, to put up the big hustle plays, or 7 steals like what Sloot had. It's going to come down to the entire team, and a big reliability will be placed on that bench. I think that's kind of make or break. However the bench plays is going to make or break how this game goes.
If the Liberty get 25 or more assists, they win. That's what I'm gonna go with on that, and I wanna see how Jonquel is gonna do against Asia and
Mhm,
where Candace is gonna be in there. So we both I'm still picking the Aces overall,
mhm,
um, but if the Liberty have 25 or more assists, I think they'll win, but
mhm,
I don't think that's gonna happen. I think they're gonna have a little bit of turnovers just because the Aces have that fluidity and the home crowd, because
mhm.
this should be a big crowd. Alright, so we have our predictions. Aces win this
Yes,
one. And
yes.
then yep, and then on and then they also have their next away game is gonna be against the Storm. I'm just gonna easily say it. The Liberty are gonna beat the Storm
Yeah,
easily. Like,
yeah.
I feel like unless yeah, I feel like unless everybody gets injured in that Aces game, I feel like the Liberty are just gonna take the Storm, and that's harsh to the Storm because you and I both are Storm fans, and I'm
Yeah.
still a Storm fan, but I just don't see a way when the Storm win this game.
No, I completely agree. I think Liberty will take it because Liberty are just like a much deeper bench, much stronger starting five. Um, yeah, I just don't. I'll be quite shocked, and I've said this many times, and I've been surprised, but I will be quite shocked if the Liberty don't win that game. So yeah,
Here's
it's
here's a
top of the
question for
list.
you. Here's a
Yeah.
question for you. Former teammates, Jewel and Stewie, who is gonna be the leading scorer in that game? Because you have the top 2 leading scorers in the league. Who's gonna
Mhm.
outscore whom in that game?
I'm gonna give it to Jewel. I think Jewel will outscore because there's more reliability placed on her to play well and to put the numbers up. I don't think it's first of all not necessary really for Stewie to be the one that leads the scoring, and I also just think she's been putting up pretty good numbers this week. I think there's a chance that we're gonna have another player like maybe Marine or Sabrina will come out and like shoot the lights out again. So yeah, I think that'll go to Jill just purely because I think she's the one that needs to step up more. But I could be proven wrong. Could be proven
I'm gonna
wrong.
go against you on that. I'm just gonna say that
Okay.
Stewie's gonna be back in Seattle and just gonna have a good time. and just outscore
Yeah.
Jewel. I say Stewie drops 30 or more against in the Seattle game, but that is not
Okay.
my weird prediction. Weird prediction is that Ezzy McMcCord is going to outblock John Quell. She's going to get more blocks than John Quell in that game. So
Okay.
that is what I'm going to go with for my weird prediction. Even though I am gonna Stewie's dropping 30 and she's going to outscore Jewel, or they can both just drop 30 some each. There you go. I bet they both
Might as well.
just do 40 each. Yeah, just
Yeah, why
Jewel and
not?
Stewie, they just each do 40. Yeah. Just nobody everybody else just off to the side. Just be like,
Yeah.
"Okay, here we go. Who's the better
Stewie
shot?"
versus Joe Lloyd with
Oh, yeah.
backup players.
Yeah. It's like yeah, like Gladys Knight and the Pips. Just be like, Stewie Stewie and the Liberty, Jewel and the Storm, but that is not how it is because we both know that all these teams and everybody's important, as we've said throughout
Yes,
this
everyone's
podcast.
important. It's a team game.
Everybody's important because, we will find out how important everybody becomes tonight against the Aces. But the Liberty, they go 3-0 this week. Kill the dream, come back against the Mystics in overtime, and then control the last 4 minutes against the Sun for a 3-0 week. Stewie tops 4,000 points for her career, fastest to ever do it. Our predictions are one one win against the Storm and a loss against the Aces for both of us. And then they'll have the Mercury on Wednesday, which we will see on how that goes back at home. But we will be in a podcast. We'll have a podcast before that game happens, so we'll have more Mercury predictions next week for you. But
Mhm.
yep, 3-0, and predictions are 1-1 this week. Um, maybe we're just doing a loss to make sure that we can kind of keep them on the perfect record. Who knows? I don't know. Or
Who knows?
maybe we just know how good the Aces are. That's the even though I did say on James's podcast that they're going to beat them, so I want them to, but it's going to be tough. So, all right. Hopefully, hopefully we'll get a perfect week, but I think you're going to go 1-1. Well,
Mhm.
for Across the Pond Liberty, I'm Stacia.
And I'm Kirsten.
All right. See you guys next week.
See you next week.